So how you doing today, first and foremost, before we get into any of this?
Fantastic. I am. Even though with all the negative going on, there's so much to be hopeful and so much to be encouraged by right now, truthfully.
Yeah, it is. So if you could, because I got a recording for this and the podcast as well as the audio part. So it's going to be like a dual disc, like type A, type B side. So can you go ahead and give the people who you are, your name, what you do, and all that?
Absolutely. So I'm Tiffany Baker. Most people know me as Tiff from the Little Rock Chamber. What I do is investor development at the Little Rock Chamber, and I focus on minority and women-owned businesses and nonprofits to make sure that we have as much economic inclusion and diversity as possible in the city.
Okay. So how can the Little Rock Chambers help somebody with a small business or a minority with a business?
As a small business owner, you want to be where the money is, right? You want to be connected. You want to be in the know. The Little Rock Chamber is one of the top largest networking organizations in the state of Arkansas. We've been in business for over 150 years. It is a nonprofit. Your membership is a tax write-off. So that's, I tell a lot of people, it goes straight back to your business. But to be able to be connected to the decision makers, the policy makers, and then the CEOs of all the major players here in the state, why would you not want a seat at the table? You want your voice to be heard. And so I really act as the liaison to make sure that you as the business owner are connected to the decision maker.
Okay. So, somebody that honestly I just heard about the Chambers probably earlier this year or late last year from another podcast, way back, and they were telling us, okay, if you got a business, you just like you said, you need to be in the room with these people. I don't care what you got to do. They was like, they have this thing called the ribbon cutting ceremony. And she said what she did was in the very beginning, she said she just got in the pictures and was, just start asking people questions. So if you don't do it, was like, if you don't do anything else in this podcast,
join the chamber.
Get a part of it. And I was like, and then I think I was already your friend on Facebook, and you put something up about Little Rock Chamber. I said, light bulb.
You know what? It was really divine intervention between you and I, Reg, because I had took the position October 1st, and we ended up crossing paths. I think it was November. And I know as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, like first and foremost, you have an entrepreneurial mindset. So no matter what you do, you're going to be hustling to make a business endeavor out of it. Kudos to you, by the way. But I immediately started recognizing, okay, who do I need to reach out to? 80% of my time I spend educating on who the chamber is and what we do, because there are a lot of misconceptions and a lot of just uneducation, which we'll get to that in a minute. But
especially people like me, how skeptical we can be for this opportunity.
Let's keep it real. And if nothing else, like we've been talking about doing this for 6 months, so this is perfect timing. But it was divine intervention because I reached out to you and you immediately responded and said, "I was just talking about this." And it really
I was
perfect timing and being where you're supposed to be to make sure that you're growing, and it was perfect.
So what all business actually has the chambers actually help to get send some names out there, some that people might be familiar with?
Absolutely. So we have 2,000 businesses currently enrolled. I think we're right over 2,000. Individually, I think I'm up to 75 accounts, and that's hands-on. And what's different about me than what it traditionally has been for the chamber is that, for one, I'm intentionally seeking minority and women-owned business owners. We've never had somebody in that sector very intentionally seeking members of the community out to get them engaged, to get them invested, and to help them grow. And then the other side of it is looking at my position as an account manager. So for you as a business owner, utilize me as a business resource, a tool for you, marketing, advertising, and really help connecting the key players. And that's why I look to myself as I'm a liaison, Reggie. I help connect. Tell me who you want to connect with. You want to connect with Regions Bank? You want to connect with Arvis? Fantastic. Jim Carville, let me call them up. Boop, boop, hands on. And it's otherwise people that you would never encounter on the street, never be able to get a hold of, but now you can. Now you have face-to-face interaction and access to.
Okay, didn't know it worked like that. Man, okay, you just surprised me. Okay.
It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy.
Okay. So with that being said, I mean, is there anything else you can like go in depth to educate people? Because like I said, like I said, I usually push people towards you, or I usually, throw the alley like, look, if you got a business, go here. But what if like somebody's on the edge and like, okay, I want to do this, but what do I do after, after you pay your initial fee or whatever? What do you do as a business? Like, what is the next move?
So as soon as you become a member, of course, I blast you personally and across the chamber board. You get signed up for ribbon cutting. And of course, going into COVID, we're doing a lot of virtual ribbon cuttings, which will actually boost you up on a larger platform. So now people that couldn't attend hands-on or in person can now stream it and share it across the platform. Our platforms have over 50,000 in viewers, but now you have all of these other businesses that you have a trickle residual effect, and it really gives you more brand power, visibility, and everything boils down to marketing and what is the revenue that it's going to bring back into your business.
All right, yeah. You was ready for this. You was ready for this.
But I want you to understand, like, I do this and I took this job because this is my passion, and I'm able in my position to connect not only my personal passion, but my calling and my purpose, which, you know me personally, civil rights is a huge piece of my calling and my passion. A lot of people question, like, Tiff, why and how and all of that. And it's been over 10 years now with my specific purpose, and definitely more of a God thing and what's laid on my heart. But we're going to get into that too.
I was just about to say, what was the turning point for you that you noticed that it was a problem? Because apparently, as you see now, Black people have been saying, like, we've been saying this the whole time, and people's like, okay. But
for the Black community, this is the same thing over and over and over. Like, nothing has changed. And the cool thing, I don't want to say the cool thing, the hopeful thing right now is, now that this fire has really ignited, it's globally. It's not just Arkansas, it's not just the United States. You're seeing protests and revolts worldwide, all across. And it doesn't matter what ethnicity, race, creed, nationality. People are standing up and saying, this is wrong. People of other nationalities are having the conversation at the dinner table with their families, like, this is racism. What is racism? How do we approach racism? How do we systematic racism? How do we conquer it? How do we find solutions? And now this is becoming a global issue. Very, very ironic timing that it happened during a global pandemic, but now you have a global pandemic and then a global pandemic hand in hand at the same time. And now the civil rights movement has transcended the United States and really is on a worldwide platform, and the world is listening, and the world is making their voice heard too, which is just, it's very, very hopeful. And I've talked to so many friends, like, I truly think this is a pivotal moment where we can capture and create permanent change.
Okay. So with that being said, how does the chamber make sure that minorities inside this business are able to get the correct, I don't want to say access to certain things fairly, because, even though it says it's doing this and it's looking for minorities, how do we know for a fact that this is actually being done, or they're bringing those to the forefront where they're getting equal opportunity?
So that's more so, we're all on the same page when it comes to the chamber staff, but me more so intentionally to make sure we're intentionally networked, we're intentionally giving the tools and the resources. And for me, I have firsthand seen so many women and minority Black-owned business, specifically here in Little Rock, that have been underserved or unrecognized or dismissed. And it's, how do we go in and give them the tools and the resources when they're starting off, when they are becoming a startup company, where they're 1 year in, and we give them those tools. We give them a mentor. We give them the opportunity to expand their learning, and no matter what the tool is, to give them those tools when they first start, rather than 5-10 years down the road when they've already gone through these trials and tribulations and gotten thrown in the fire and their butt kicked, to say, let's take you on under inception and hone you and truly grow your business to where you don't have to go through that 5-year trial run, where you don't have to waste $200,000, where so on and so forth. So being very startup driven, and there's a lot of in place to make sure that we have that support system, and just really trying to build I don't want to, Army, more intense purposes, is this beautiful Army to drive the next era, the next generation.
Which I'm glad you said Army. I'm glad you said Army because I was speaking with a friend, and he was like, there's certain business or certain places that have to do business with veterans, and then especially Black veterans. And then he was like, if you can find a Black female veteran, then that's like legit. It's like almost like an anomaly within itself. And then what was crazy is, I mean, he was talking to me, but when he said that, I was like, yo, I don't know too many Black female veterans that are pushing for business. I was like, that's a space that really needs some attention. So that's why I inboxed you. I was like, yo, like that to me, like, cause that needs light within itself.
As a state, that is a very unoccupied category. And so I think we all have to collectively make sure that as women are starting up their businesses, more specifically women veterans starting up their business, that they know what tools and resources, and I sent you that link, so we'll make sure we blast it out, but just to know what tools, what tax write-offs, there's so many tax write-offs for women minority veterans in itself. That is a whole lane where you have special category tax tabs, write-offs, grants, and financial opportunities. So that is something to definitely push going forward.
Side note. So let's talk about some of the things, the resources you sent me. Like, elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay, absolutely. You want me to screen share, or do you want to post it later?
I'm sure, like I said, I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm a newbie to the Zoom. I mean, my first introduction to Zoom was outside my kids. Well, last
Okay.
I can admit now, I can finally admit to everybody that when the first person I did Zoom with, I was trying to sound professional because everybody was Zooming you, because I'm used to using just FaceTime record call. And I actually I was like, yo, you want to FaceTime? You want to call? You want to do Zoom? She was like, Zoom. And I was like, yo, I was like, cool, that's good. I'm thinking, I called my home. I was like, yo, hey, help me. Like, I have no idea how to use any of this.
Right. Let me see if I can screen share, Reggie. Share. You disabled screen sharing. Can you, the bottom right-hand corner, can you enable screen share as the host?
Where is it? It should be video setting, correct? Screen share. Okay. I think I just did it, hopefully. I think I did it. Did I do it?
No, I'm still disabled. Okay, so we'll post it after the fact. But internally at the Little Rock Chamber, of course, we have a handful of partners that I'll go into in just a second. But internally, a lot of the small business resources that we have, we offer internal mentorship. So you have retired CEOs and execs that you can actually set up office hours, and you can talk about everything from taxes to your business plan to grants and financial opportunities. So whatever you need help with, you can actually set up business hours and come in with retired CEOs and execs and get hands-on mentorship, which is invaluable. Another resource that we do is our small business training series. It's called Equip. And we do that about every 2.5 or 3 months. So at least 4 times a year. And each topic will be a specialist in that category. So if it's technical, marketing, HR, depending on what it is, business growth, depending on what your category is, each one will be different. But we ask our members to give our feedback and say, what do you want to learn on the next Equip series? And you'll actually vote, and we'll hire a specialist to come in and be very hands-on. What else do we have? Power Ups is our luncheon series, and we'll have specialists from a specific category come in on that. And that'll be a lunch, networking, and educational opportunity. And as far as events go in the chamber, we have at least one monthly networking event, which is invaluable because networking in itself, we live in Arkansas, it's who you know, you first name basis, and we all know the most powerful tool for growing is word of mouth. So making sure that you are networking yourself, and as a business owner, you're selling your product. day in and day out, that you're living your product, but meeting all of these other businesses that will go out of their way to support you is really important. So we really thrive off of that. And again, I think diversity is crucial to intentionally network yourself in those pivotal moments, to make sure that we capture the most.
So when most people come to you, are they skeptical? How many people like fall back and then all of a sudden come back forward? Like, oh, I should have done this. Like how does that been working?
You want to know the real numbers?
Yeah.
I spend 80% of my time educating the community on what the chamber is, because the sectors of the community that I'm going in, the Black and brown sectors of the community, don't know what a chamber of commerce is. They have in their head it being one thing. And let's be real, a bunch of old white men sitting around a board table changing money. When that's not in the least bit of what it is, or what it's becoming and what it is evolving into. I mean, we're talking about 150 years, one of the longest standing businesses and one of the largest organizations in the state. It is evolving, it is growing. And I think that's more so of a reason, once my small business owners understand what it is and how they can leverage it to grow their business, to build their reputation, and to really evolve to that next chapter of their business to become something greater. Yes, 100% on board.
Yeah, okay.
But I spend most of my time just educating.
I'm telling you, I had no idea what it was. I legitimately.
And that's okay. That is okay. Most of us don't. I didn't understand it for the longest.
So, matter of fact, you said Brian, especially Brian. Like, how many people from the Latinx community are coming forward to the chambers as well and getting involved as well?
Right now, it is very small. I would say 5% of our memberships are Hispanic or Latin owners or CEOs. That is definitely something we will be expanding. We're in the talks right now of offering different trainings in a bilingual type environment, or even specifically just doing a Spanish environment to where it is solely dedicated to our Latin community. Because as you know, and as you can see the numbers, our Latin community in Little Rock is exponentially growing.
Yes.
And I used to be bilingual. I lost my ability, but that is something that I'm very much looking to get back into.
Like I said, you was more ready for this. Like I said, I set up as a meeting as an informal way, but it was more for me than anything. I can tell the truth.
He set this up.
Get to talk, understand, and I'm being extra professional, but it's really more for me to understand and give information to pass it down.
Reggie, I was all ready to be like, okay, let me give the professional side of Tiff and let me give the real side of Tiff. So, okay, since this is more for you, so let's talk about my background, because a lot of people, I never get to talk about my background. I never get to talk about where I'm from and how I got here.
Yeah.
So that right there, since this is just me and you, that's what I want to talk about, if that's okay.
Oh, knock yourself out. I'm telling you now. Like I said, I'm willing to learn. I will learn.
Okay, so I can keep things really real. But just a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Northeast Texas in a predominantly Black community called Libertiano. I was very fortunate growing up to have a lot of Black educators. And when I say a lot, I had more Black educators than I had white educators, which is rare, period. You don't see the statistics lean in the Black educators. So I was really fortunate to have a diverse education, and more so, I'm thankful, and as I look back on my education, my educators went out of their way to make sure that they told us, look, we're going to teach you outside of the textbook because your textbooks are wrong. Your textbooks are racist. I have educators that stood up when I was 6, 7, 8, 14 years old and told us, look, this is a part of systemic racism. So I had incredibly bold and courageous educators growing up. My best friend growing up that I spent almost every single weekend and half of the week at her house was Mexican Guatemalan descent. And so very Latin family. Her mom woke up and she hand pressed tortillas every morning. Just beautiful family, beautiful culture. And that's what I knew all of my grade school, all the way going up to high school. That's what I knew. And so having a predominantly Black community and then a best friend, Mexican Guatemalan heritage, this beautiful Black and brown influence on me. And fast forward, went to Henderson State University, and shout out to HSU, liberal arts education. I will say Henderson State was really my wake-up call to racism, to civil rights, and to what the system was and how broken it was, because I was political science, poli-sci major, with a business minor, and public administration was actually my focus. But as I started doing poli-sci and really digging into the judicial system and the justice system being what it is today, and seeing how broken, and how this is a system not made for Black and brown people, people of color. This is a system that is made against Black people, 400 years of slavery. So how can you have a system that wasn't made for individuals that are 3/5 of a man, according to the Constitution, now protect and make you freedom and justice for all? This isn't the pursuit of happiness for all. This is a system that is broken, and now we're trying to evolve it. No, we just need to do an overhaul.
Yeah.
And so that was really my wake-up call 10 years ago. So exactly, I guess 11 years now of seeing what the system is racially, judicially, the justice system, systemic racism, and fight that. And for those that are in my circle and closest to me, and for those that have had the pleasure to do some business with me, know that I'm pretty opinionated, that I don't always do well with holding my tongue, because honestly, it's okay. I think things need to be said, and the uncomfortable truth needs to be spoken. And if that means people don't like me, okay, I'm okay with that. I've always been okay with that.
Yeah. I think that's what people need to come with. That's what people need to do.
People need to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. Just be okay with the uncomfortableness, because we're not going to move forward until we can talk the truth, until we can be brutally honest. And the truth is uncomfortable, but that's what it takes to move forward.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So like I said, that's crazy. So yeah, it's funny you say that, because
and I'm Native American. I'm half Native American and European.
Oh.
So
okay, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. It's funny you say that about the political science, because I got a guy that I got cool with him because I did a show with him, and then we got close over time. And it was funny. He was like, "Yeah, I'm political science." He's in school to be a lawyer now. And we were like, and we asked him the question, like, so outside of you being Black, when did you realize that the system was really, really broken? He was like, have you read any of the laws? Like, have you actually sat down and read any of those laws? And I was like, no, I really hadn't. He's like, next time you get a chance, just read some of the laws. Just read some of them. And like I said, I actually kind of did. Just speaking. I was like, okay. But and it was kind of mind-boggling for me. With that being said, like, if you read, I don't understand how some Americans, white Americans specifically, can hear isolated event after isolated event, and it was like, well, that just happened there. Well, this happened. At what point point in case, just like the COVID-19, if you have cases popping up everywhere, eventually it becomes a pandemic. If it's too many isolated, they're connected somehow. So I don't understand how we keep having these same events in different places, and they're like, we don't want to connect them. That's just them. Like, it's mind blowing.
No, I agree, and that's why I referred to this as a pandemic, because this is 400 years in the making. This is a pot of oil that's been on the heat, that has finally reached its boiling point and exploding. It's starting a grease fire now. And at this point, white America doesn't have a choice to be silent anymore, and to keep saying all lives matter, and to keep saying these are isolated events. At this point, it's time.
Yeah. So with this being said, in the Chamber, I wonder how many people you got, actually people that are colored, that are in tech. Because that's another space that I've been trying to get Black people to go more in, especially tech. Because I'm seeing more and more of that, and especially with where time is going. Damn, okay. Yeah, that's gonna be another point I have to reach.
I actually know a handful of Black men that are in the tech field, and that's a conversation that we're having a lot of, especially with the Venture Center right here in Little Rock, which is the fintech capital of the world. Shout out to the Venture Center, Wayne and Mimi San Pedro, just phenomenal leaders. The director and the co-director, just phenomenal leaders. But the Venture Center right at the Tech Park on Main Street downtown are doing amazing jobs to make sure that we're bridging the gap between minorities in the tech community, and specifically in the financial tech community, which is growing leaps and bounds. But Little Rock is one of the fintech capitals of the world, which most people
would think that's crazy. I didn't even know that. Did not know that. Wow.
And one of our other big partners that I wanted to mention was the Innovation Hub, which is right across the river on the North Little Rock side. Director, Dr. Chris Jones, phenomenal director, but they're doing incredible stuff like 3D printing. They're giving you hands-on, again, like mentorship opportunities, workspace opportunities to come in and to actually have a creative space. But all of the tools and the resources they offer it up to the community, and they give you a viable opportunity to expand, whether it's your trademark or actually get your ideas out on paper and into real life.
Damn.
So a lot of these tools nobody knows about, especially not many people in the Black community know that these tools and resources are at your disposal, and not only at your disposal, but they're either free at a reduced cost or provided to you by taxpayers' money or grant money. Okay, so let me tell you some other resources, because I see your eyes are getting a little mind boggled over there, Reggie.
Because it's one of them situations, and the reason why I say that is because it's kind of like growing up and you go to school and it was like, hey, if you can't pay for school, just look for scholarships. And of course, you know that.
You got to write 1 million essays, and you will be lucky if you get one scholarship.
And then you don't even know where to look besides Google, and Google's so saturated, you don't even know where to start. But the fun, I'm telling you now, like, blowing my mind. Especially.
Okay, so what I tell a lot, I mean, at this point, I've stopped separating Tiffany and then Tiff at the Little Rock Chamber. They're becoming one and the same really rapidly. I've been in my position almost a year, and at this point, it's becoming the same. So on my social media platforms, at first I was keeping my Facebook private, and then I was doing an Instagram for work. And at this point, it's all coming together, which is okay, because I want everybody to have the tools to succeed. You know what? If that means that I'm in the community, and it's okay. I'm going to lose some privacy, but I think like this is my calling, this is my passion. I don't get paid to do almost any of this. I'm a nonprofit salary, so don't think that I'm not. I do this because I love it. But when people start, and it's a lot of women reach out to me, Tiff, I've got this idea, where do I start? One of my favorite resources is the ASB TDC, Arkansas Small Business Technology and Business Center. If you aren't familiar with them, they're located on campus of UALR. Mm-hmm. And what they do is, when you have an idea, when you have a business plan, when you're a startup, and say you've been in business 2 years, that's fine. Go meet with them. A lot of what they offer is completely free. Completely free, okay? So you'll meet with them, and they'll help you write and revise your business plan with tax documents, with your business registration, all of the different state registrations and licenses and all of that. So getting your plan formulated to become official and legit as a business. And then once you go from there, they'll actually have mentors. It's some of the same access that we have, a little different, but again, mentorship is crucial to your business growth and development. So you'll have access to mentors. So they'll literally walk you through the whole implementation of your startup business and making sure you're successful. And it's free. And it's free. But nobody knows this tool is out here. And you can go in, Brandon, he is one of my college classmates. He just started with the UALR ASB TDC. And you can go in there and say, Tiff from the Little Rock Chamber sent me. And they're magic. They're really great. So the ASB TDC, the Venture Center, and the Innovation Hub are all phenomenal, priceless partners of ours that I send people to on a daily basis. So check out all of those, and I sent you links to all of those as well. Now, some other local resources that I wanted to tell you about, Reggie, are the Women's Foundation of Arkansas. So again, talking about women-owned businesses, and more so women veteran businesses, they make sure that a couple of their cohorts that they do and their grants focus specifically on women of color and women veterans to make sure that they have access to grant money, fund money, seed money to grow it. Secondly is Winrock International. Again, focus on the Black and Brown community, focus on women-owned businesses. The SBA of Arkansas, Little Rock CLSC, and you have the link to all of these. SCORE, which is SCORE is who we do internally for our mentorships. They offer, their actual business is all about mentoring and business growth. The AWBC, incredible organization. A lot of what they do is with Winrock, so they partner together, but the AWBC, just phenomenal work. The Conductor of Arkansas, which is right in Conway. So shout out to all the Conway businesses. You have the same sort of business growth, development, mentorship opportunities right there in Conway. Jeff Standridge, he's the director there. Great, phenomenal, very hands-on with you. State of Arkansas Economic Development Commission. This is where the state has set aside money for economic development, internal programs and grants that they have. Check them out. And then Venture Noir is like a seed money startup. And then BK from Little Rock actually just started High Street Equity, which is also going to be like a startup seed money pitch type. And speaking of pitch, we just had a huge state pitch competition about an hour ago.
You did.
Awesome.
By the thing you said, I put what it was. I seen it and I had been posting about it. And
$30,000, Reggie.
I had a classmate. She actually was in the top final 15.
That is awesome.
She was, and I was like,
some really good pitches.
Man, it threw me out. It threw me out because what happened, and once again, I'll be honest. She sent me the screenshot of her name being on the finals, and what it was, I think I was preoccupied with something else, but I knew it was something good. So I kind of shamelessly, I just kind of went through the motion. Hey, good job, proud of you all that. And I was, just kind of, good job, yeah. And it got back doing what I'm doing. So I was scrolling through Facebook, and I seen Darius, aka Juice, and I was like, damn, I wonder what, I wanted this. And they showed the finals, and I'm scrolling, and I was like, oh.
Like, this is big. And what's really cool about that is, and this is one thing that I want to really work on the next year, so going into 2021, is bringing in more capital assets, more seed money, more organizations that can cultivate this seed money for our minority businesses, because how many incredible entrepreneurs have these amazing ideas, but they can't get them started because they don't have access. They don't have a relationship with a bank where they can say, oh, I need a $50,000 loan. Oh, I need even just a $10,000 loan. Like, a lot of our entrepreneurs here in Central Arkansas don't have a relationship with a bank, or they don't have credit score. I mean, so again, back to systemic racism, a system that is set where you have to be here, but because of your environment, because of your surroundings, because of where you come from, you don't know. You just haven't had that economic, the financial education to know I need my credit score this to get this to start my business. Just don't know. So how do you do?
My question real quick is the chamber, how do y'all make sure that the banks are giving these minorities a fair shake? Because systematically, like, banks don't allow blacks that many.
Okay, so that's a little bit outside of the Chamber of Commerce venue. Mm-hmm. However, one of my previous positions was with a CDFI, a community development financial institution. Banks are obligated by law, legally, every single year they have to give a certain percentage of their deposits back to the community development fund. Okay, so this is called a CDFI. They are obligated. Now, if they fail to do so, they're fined a huge fine. Most of these banks pay the fine because they don't know where to send the money to in the community. This has been going on for so many years. So I started with the CDFI. I was the executive director with People Trust, which is right here in Little Rock, 65th Street, Arlo, Washington. Go see him. He specializes in micro loans for the community to go back to school, to start your small business, to do home improvements, etc. Micro loans at a very non-competitive interest rate. Again, knowing your resources and what's out there. But the CDFIs we now, over the last couple of years, there have been some more in Arkansas. And so really making sure the big banks are giving this money back to the community. And that will be a part of making sure the equitable part of these big organizations are pouring back into the Black and brown community.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Once again, you blow my mind. Like I said, because I think that's the biggest concern for most of us is like, okay, you hear the numbers and like, okay, they're not going to get us a fair shake anyway. So what is it like? Is it like pretty much a deadline? I mean, because you said it's a certain percent, so they have to pretty much beat, what is it, like other businesses before they get in, like, you know?
No, the CDFI is specifically back to the community. And I will tell you a lot of that. Okay, so let me give you some financial resources. And this is going to be a flyer, draw up this flyer because this is huge. Okay. Of course, People Trust Community Loan Fund. That it's right here in Little Rock. There's no reason. Forge Community Loan Fund. And so now you have multiple community loan funds. Okay. Arkansas Community Foundation, Arkansas-based CDFIs. And in this group, and I want you to drop this below, in this group of the Arkansas-based CDFIs, I think it is 18 now. Arkansas Capital, Little Rock Bank, Lake Villages, Lake Village Community, Fayetteville Diamond, Malvern, FBT, Fordyce, Ash Flat, Fordyce Forge, Huntsville People, Little Rock Southeast Arkansas Bank, Lake Village Southern Bancorp, Arkadelphia Southern Bancorp, phenomenal group, and Little Rock Southern Bancorp. Those are all CDFIs. So in that, those are all places to reach out to. And right now, several of those are doing special minority grants and seed money because of COVID, because a lot of our minority businesses didn't get PPP, didn't get EIDL loans, and they were just kicked out of a lot of the small business loans for the COVID. So all of that, and again, back to Windrock International, 100%. I want every minority business owner to get on Windrock International and sign up for their email newsletter, because they do a weekly newsletter with different loans, different grants, and different funding from different sources, so you know what grants are out there. Because a grant is non-payable. You get that money and it is directly seed money. How many people are applying for that grant? Way less than you'd think. Way less than you would think. So all of those are financial resources that I want everybody to check out.
All right. So as we get ready to wrap this up, I mean, is there anything? Because I don't want to make this super long.
Yeah.
Because you know how people is. You know, sometimes you give them a buffet, and what happens is their eyes will get too big. Because I knew you was coming with some power punches. I knew you coming with power punches. So I just want it's crazy. So
okay.
Anything else you want to throw in real quick?
I do. For you and for everybody that's listening, just my position at the Little Rock Chamber, and I think you saw this on the email. I've got, for my personal mission statement, this is what my goal is for one, to focus on minority and women-owned businesses and nonprofits, of course. For two, to bring as much diversity to business community here in Little Rock Metro that we've ever seen. 3, to become intentionally inclusive so that our Black and brown businesses have direct access to the tools and resources to not only be successful, but to thrive and create generational wealth. To recognize, equip, and connect businesses, entrepreneurs that have for so many years been underserved, dismissed, and unrecognized and disadvantaged. To address and combat effects of systemic racism in business and educational sectors so that the Little Rock and state of Arkansas progress. Get Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and women-owned businesses directly involved with the policies and the politics being voted and passed on for our state, and to create a new era of business for our city and state that truly encompasses complete inclusiveness and intentional diversity. So that really is my mission and my work at the Chamber in a whole. But I do want to say a couple of closing remarks as far as the state of the United States, the state of Arkansas, and just globally with the civil rights being what it has been for the last week, is we have to carry this momentum into November. And so I challenge, and this is a call to action, I want each and everybody on here, everyone that you know, Reggie, reach out to them. We have to get our people registered to vote. We have to get our community registered to vote. I live right here off 12th Street, and you would be surprised how many people are actually actively involved in who our representative is, for our region. Like, do you know who's running for you? Do you know your city, your state, your local, but more importantly, your school board? Do you know? And so we have to get our people registered to vote. I have a link for you. You can get on the SOS Arkansas site, put in your address, and they mail your voter registration directly to your door. There's no reason not to register, okay? And protesting, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do or how to do it, but we have to carry this momentum for it to be equitable, to create real change, to be permanent. Because yes, I live down the street from the Capitol. This is beautiful what's going on. I commend everybody out there that's in the heat, sweating, screaming, hollering. I commend everybody. I love it to see real change. But we have to be about the real change. Yeah. Now we got to put our boots on the ground. Now we actually need to know who's running for our school board, who's about to get elected to chief of police. We need to know who's in position of power that affect our police reform, that affect our school board, that affect our education. And that's more so why I push everybody to get involved in the Little Rock Chamber, because the Little Rock Chamber is responsible for economic development, first and foremost. So we bring in big organizations, bring in new jobs, bring in high-paying jobs for our citizens. We're a part of educational development. So it's actually the Little Rock Chamber that rolled out the new community school program that's going to start next fall. We rolled that out. But no, we're under the radar. Nobody knows that that's a project we worked on. It's called the For Next Generation Learning. The Little Rock Chamber did that. And so as a member, you can say, I'm a part of this reform. I'm a part of the change. But most importantly, we're quality of life. And so focusing and make sure that our parks, that our recs, that our communities have sidewalks, that we have crosswalks, that we have all of these bike lanes, all of these things that make our day-to-day life equitable and more enjoyable for everybody, regardless of race or nationality. So register to vote. We have to create real change. We have to keep this momentum going to November and going beyond. And so I call to action everybody to just get involved. And last but not least, Reggie, because it wouldn't be me if I didn't leave you with the quote, okay?
Yes, go ahead.
We all have a role to play in this revolution and this movement, okay? Jane Goodall, her quote, each one of us matters, has a role to play, and makes a difference. Each one of us must take responsibility for our own lives, and above all, show respect and love for living things around us, especially each other. Jane Goodall.
Well, I appreciate you spending your time with me.
My pleasure.
These nuclear information bombs on me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Even as doing it, I can't wait to go back and re-listen to it myself, because I'm actually writing down the notes. Because it's like I said, in the moment, it's kind of hard to focus, and I want to, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I want to write that down real quick, but I want to, focus. So can't wait to listen to it. So I seriously appreciate you taking your time and even coming on the platform with me and sharing it with me. I really appreciate it. And I thank you for what you're doing as well.
It's my pleasure, Reggie. Absolutely my pleasure. This was long overdue, my friend.
It was. But better late, you know what I'm saying? Better late than never,
Hey, but we did it. And I look forward to announcing you as one of the new Little Rock Chamber members soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So,
brother, I love you. Keep your head up. Let's be the change. And let's get to work.
All right. See you.